If you teach academic writing to students who are learning English, you already know the struggle is very, very real. I mean, how many hours do you spend giving the exact same feedback on grammar, on tone, on sentence structure? But what if there was a new kind of tech that could basically act as a personal writing coach for every single one of your students anytime they need it? Okay, let's dive into some really fascinating research on how AI writing assistants might just be changing the classroom for good. So that's the big question, right? How can an AI actually help your students write better? A team of researchers wanted to get past all the hype and see if these tools could make a real, measurable difference for EFL students. And let me tell you, what they found is pretty eye-opening. All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with the big challenge we're all facing. Then I'll introduce you to the AI tool they used in the study. We'll look at how they put it to the test, check out the hard data, and then, this is the good part, we'll hear what the students themselves had to say. And finally, we'll wrap it all up into a new strategy you can actually use. Okay, so before we get to the cool new solution, let's start on common ground. Let's talk about the challenges your students are up against every single day. And if you're a lecturer, I'm willing to bet these are going to sound very familiar. Just try to imagine for a second writing a formal academic paper in a language that is not your native tongue. You're not just swapping words around. You're trying to navigate this incredibly complex web of unspoken rules about grammar and tone and academic style. For so many students, it really is like trying to solve a giant puzzle when you've only been given half the pieces. So, the big question is, how can we help our students navigate this maze? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The researchers in this study decided to test out a specific tool designed to do just that. It's called Wordtune. Let's take a look at what it is and how it works. The easiest way to think about it is like a personal writing coach that's on call 24/7. It doesn't just catch typos, it actually helps students discover better, more precise ways to express their ideas. It's kind of like having a thesaurus that actually understands the context of what you're trying to say. And here's what that coach looks like in action. You can see it right here. A student types out a sentence, and with just one click, Wordtune's AI spits out a whole list of different ways to say the same thing. Some might be more formal, some more concise, some are just plain better. It's an instant feedback loop. Now, what makes this so powerful is that it's built around these 4 key features, and each one targets a specific writing problem. Rewrite is perfect for those students who are struggling to find just the right words. Formal is a lifesaver for getting that academic tone right. Shorten, well, that's for the students who tend to get a little bit wordy. And expand helps them flush out their ideas with more detail. So Wordtune sounds pretty great in theory, right? But the real question is, does it actually work in a real university classroom? That's exactly what the researchers wanted to find out, and they did it with a really rigorous study. To test it, they used something called a quasi-experimental design. Now, I know that sounds super academic and complicated, but the idea is actually really simple. You basically take 2 groups of students, you give one group a special intervention, in this case Wordtune, and then you compare their results to the group that didn't get it. It's a fantastic way to see if something really works out in the real world. So here's how they set it up. They took 60 EFL students and split them into 2 groups. The first group, the experimental group, got to learn academic writing using Wordtune. The second group, the control group, used the more traditional methods. Both groups had the same teacher, the same amount of class time, and took the exact same tests. The only real difference was that one group had an AI secret weapon. All right, so after 7 weeks, it was time for the final exam. This was the moment of truth. Did that secret weapon, did Wordtune actually make a difference? Let's look at the numbers. Okay, you gotta see this. On the pretest, at the very beginning, both groups were basically neck and neck, scoring around a 62. But look at what happened on the post-test. The control group, the one without the AI, their scores crept up just a couple of points to 64. But the Wordtune group, their scores literally skyrocketed all the way up to 73. I mean, that is a huge difference. It's not even close. And this chart just drives that point home. It shows you that gap between the 2 groups so clearly. The difference in performance is massive. You can just see how much of an advantage the students using the AI assistant had. It's completely undeniable. Now, for anyone who's into statistics, this is the really exciting part. The p-value was 0.000. So what does that even mean? Well, in simple terms, a p-value tells you the probability that your results were just a random fluke. A p-value of 0.000 means there's basically 0 chance these results happen by accident. This is the real deal. So what's the bottom line here? It's that the data is absolutely crystal clear. Wordtune is a game changer. It's not just some cool, fancy new gadget. It is a genuinely powerful tool that helps students make significant, measurable improvements in their writing. Okay, so we know that it works. The numbers simply don't lie. But the next big question is, why does it work so well? To figure that out, the researchers went straight to the source, the students themselves. Let's see what they had to say. The researchers really wanted to pinpoint which specific parts of Wordtune were making the biggest difference. So they asked the students a bunch of questions about their experience using the tool. And honestly, the answers are incredibly revealing. Get a load of this. A whopping 97% of students, that's almost everybody, said the Shorten feature helped them learn how to write more concise sentences. Now, that is a huge deal, because as any lecturer knows, getting students to trim the fat and be more direct in their writing is like half the battle. And it wasn't just about being concise. A massive 90% of students also said Wordtune helped them expand their vocabulary. Just think about that for a second. This tool isn't just fixing their mistakes, it's actively teaching them new words and more effective ways to get their ideas across. So when you put all of this student feedback together, you start to see a really clear pattern emerge. Students felt that the formal feature was teaching them those unwritten rules of academic writing. The sentence construction features helped them literally build better sentences from the ground up, and the tool as a whole was acting as that personal vocabulary coach we talked about. So the evidence here is pretty overwhelming. We've got a powerful tool that can clearly help your EFL students improve their academic writing. But what does all of this mean for you, the lecturer? How do we turn these findings into a practical strategy for the classroom? Now listen closely, because this might be the most important takeaway from the entire study. The researchers are not saying you should let a robot take over your job. Far from it. They're saying your role is to guide your students, to help them understand why the AI is making certain suggestions and how to use the tool effectively. In this new model, you're not a proofreader, you're a strategist, and your expertise is more valuable than ever. And that really brings us to a final, thought-provoking question. If this study is any indication, the future of education isn't about AI replacing teachers, it's about AI empowering them. It's about humans and AI working together to create a better, more personalized learning experience for every student. This kind of tool can handle the tedious, repetitive feedback, freeing you up to focus on the big stuff, like critical thinking and analysis. The only real question left is, are you ready to embrace your new assistant?